So, have you updated your text communication skills yet for 2025? Because we're almost there. Have you done that? Probably not. So, I'm going to help you today. That's what this series is all about. Started off as me wanting to do a video on it, and because my time management skills when it comes to doing these sorts of things can be bad. This is going to turn really into a several part series. As you guys know, being on YouTube is not my primary job. I deal with clients and I help people with mindset and behaviors and human behaviors and relationship and dating and sex related issues. And I do that with clients. I do it behind a paywall as well as help in a free community, which you can join. The link is in the description of this video. You'll get a newsletter with no spam and actually good stuff that I write personally, not chat GPT or some AI thing, right? So it's actual real problems that people are having with real solutions. And you can start getting better at your skills in dating and relationships and success and your mindset and start getting things that you want. Anyway, that's what I do with clients. I come on YouTube to share stuff with you guys and to offer sort of help, and it helps me market the business and it helps give you guys some free information that can help you. And we're going to do that today as well as over the next few videos that I do live on text game. Okay. So why would you want to listen to me when it comes to text game? Besides the fact that I'm good at it and I've gotten good results with women in my life. I'm a human behavior expert. That's why. Okay. So I'm an expert when it comes to human behavior. Texting, and the reason for me doing this series is because texting women and getting women to sleep with you is actually really easy. Okay. And I'm here to demystify some of this stuff for you. You got a lot of grifters and a lot of, so-called pickup artists and dating coaches out there who, they kind of like promote as if they have some sort of magic sauce, some sort of magical saying or some special thing. Like if you do their course or if you do their thing, magic is going to happen in your life. And all these women are going to want to touch your wiener. It's not how it works. There is no magic here. It's just simple communication skills that you can either develop and get good at or not. Now, this is not to discredit every person doing pickup as a business out there. There's some pickup people that do a really good job. You know what I mean? And so hats off to those people. But most of the people on YouTube and on the internet are just ripping things off from each other, right? They're just stealing content from each other. And because of that, their information tends to be out of date. And I talked about that in the last video about how that when you're dealing with texting and texting a girl, getting a girl wanting to meet up with you, sleep with you, whatever, and you're taking it from a meetup or a contact on a dating app or social media into those next steps, there's a lot of hidden variables that are at play. You don't know what her mood is, what she's actually feeling behind that text, what her motivation is, right? There's other variables that are in place when you see an example like this girl sleeps with a guy right away because he says just the right things. Yeah, I've gotten that in my life, and so have many of my clients. But there's always hidden variables and unseen variables. So there's reasons why that progressed in that way behaviorally that's behind the words that are being used. So the words are actually not that important. The words are easy. And then a lot of these dating guys, right, and these coaches or whatever, they use vanity metrics for credibility that don't make any sense and don't apply to you. Some dude out there slept with hundreds and hundreds of women or thousands of women. Well, first of all, that guy could be lying about those numbers. You have no way of verifying it. Second of all, let's say some of that's true. What does that matter to you? Just because a guy can pick up on average girls at the bar or some, 304s in another country or whatever he's doing, right? Like, it's not hard to get laid. Now, I know some of you guys listening to me right now who are struggling to get laid are like, what do you mean? I'm struggling. How could you say it's not hard? Look, when you figure out, it's like anything, when you figure out the basics of how to do it, it becomes effortless and kind of easy to do. Where the challenge ends up being is finding quality girls that you actually want to spend time with. The challenge is no longer, once you get past getting a girl to touch your wiener, the challenge no longer is that. The challenge is being attractive and developing a connection with a higher caliber of woman. Whether, even if you're just casually dating, you'd rather be on casual dates with somebody that's really attractive and really cool to hang out with, right? Not on casual dates with some dumpy idiot that you don't really want to, that you feel embarrassed if your friends saw you with her. You know what I mean? And so, like, the challenge for you guys shouldn't be, oh man, I can't get a girl to like me. The challenge for you guys should be, okay, I know how to get girls to like me. What do I do to take this further now to have meaningful relationships, dates, casual encounters, long-term relationships, all those things, right? That should be really where the goal is. Not, oh, I need to get my wiener touched. I need to stick my wiener in something. That is easy. That is easy to do. Really is. Once you figure out formula for it, you could go to the bar you don't even need to get on a dating app. You can go to the bar a couple nights a week and get laid with different girls who are 5s or 6s, just hang out towards the end of the night. Somebody drunk enough will sleep with you. It's not this big challenge that people make it out to be. You may have, if you're not getting that, if you can't just go do that, there's probably some things that are lacking in terms of your social skills, but probably more importantly, towards your inner game. It's probably not even your social skills. People with poor social skills can go out to some trashy bar, pick up some 5 or 6, right? And get her to sleep with him at some point. If he goes out enough, this will happen to that guy. Okay. If you can't do that, if you don't, like, I can't do that. Okay. There's something actually wrong with you on the inside, not even on the outside, because guys with poor communication skills with low SMV do it all the time. So there's actually an inner game problem you have. The problem isn't, oh, I need to text a girl a special magical way to get her to like me. The problem is you don't see yourself as somebody who is mateable, as dateable, as somebody that a girl would ever want to be with. For some reason, you have shame or guilt or low self-esteem on the inside, and that's preventing you from communicating appropriately on the outside. All right. So that's the real problem with most guys who struggle with this stuff. Okay. I'm going to go over text openers today and some structural things. It's going to be super easy, but that's not going to be your reason for not getting girls. All right. I promise you. You can go, when I'm done with this series, there's nothing else you need to know about texting for at least the next couple of years. I mean, you can improve on it. Don't get me wrong. You can make yourself better, but that's more about practice and execution than any sort of instruction. You can get more instruction to improve your fighting position, so to speak, but you'll have a fighting position by the end of this series, and it'll be up to date. Again, most of these dudes on the internet giving this advice are ripping each other off, and so they're just recycling old advice. And I explained in my last video, why that's problematic, right? Because again, you kind of need to update the stuff every couple of years. The way that, especially if you're talking to girls who are in their like 20s, if you're talking to younger girls who haven't developed solid dating patterns yet, the cultural and social norms affect the way texting works more because we're not evolved to communicate over screens, even though that's our primary way of communication nowadays, right? So like, because of that, our evolved mechanisms aren't taking over. It's going to be more social and cultural influence that greatly influences what is appropriate in terms of texting, and not just what to say, but pacing, timing, when to say, word structure, all that kind of stuff, even grammar, short form, humor, memes, all that crap, emoji use, all that stuff sort of changes more rapidly than our evolved mechanisms for communication. So when you talk to a girl in person, if you're not, if you're not clouded by inner game issues and you can communicate freely, even if you lack some communication skills, you have a natural ability to be able to communicate with another human being. That natural ability starts to reduce and become less of a factor when you put a screen in front of yourself. So you do need to review these things every so often. And that said, some of you might have watched last week's video and been a little bit frustrated. Like, man, I wanted the definitive text guide. Just tell me how to text. Paul, just tell me the answers. Give me the cheat sheets. I want the cheat code. Tell me the answers. This video series is going to tell you the answers. It is the cheat code, okay? However, I spent probably an hour and a half telling you a lot of things, and I haven't even told you yet what texts to send. And so that may be frustrating for some of you guys. This is going to be a shorter video, all right? The next ones in the videos are going to be shorter. It's going to be more what to do. But why didn't I just tell you the answers? Why didn't I just give you the multiple choice answers? Because it's not going to help you. That's why. I'm going to help you despite yourself. Okay? If you're listening to me right now, and if you follow my stuff, you're going to get unfucked despite your resistance to getting help. Okay? For some of you guys. Because again, when I say it's not about what exact thing to text over, there's no magic to it. Some of you guys just don't understand it. You still want the multiple choice answers. You're not looking to understand what's behind the actual texting. When you understand from a behavioral perspective what is behind a text exchange, okay, you can create your own rules, create your own things to text. You don't need to mimic some other pickup artist. You don't need to copy somebody else's style. You can do it yourself, and it'll be more authentic and it'll get you better results. All right. Because at the end of the day, you need to be able to empathetically understand what this person is conveying to you on the other end of this conversation, whether she's in front of you, whether you're inside of her, or whether it's over a screen. Right. And you need some skills and foundation to do that. And you also need to understand why a lot of the information that is out there is bullshit too. You need to get that. And so, and then another thing foundationally, when it comes to texting, you need to understand how important it is that we lay the foundations for your text game to work. Part of laying those foundations, for example, is having a good landing page or Instagram, having a good, dating app set up with good photos and stuff like that. So you convey yourself in an attractive manner versus an unattractive one, or an average one. If you don't lay those foundations, all the text game in the world isn't going to get you much more results, anything past chance, okay? If you talk to, that's another thing, you talk to hundreds of women, somebody's going to talk to you. That doesn't mean your skills are good. It doesn't mean you're doing it right. We want to better your results, much better than chance, much better than the numbers game, okay? Because that's how you're going to go past just getting a girl to touch your wiener. Trust me, that's the easiest part. And if you're not there yet, it may not feel like it, but once you get there, in very short order, you're going to want to know what else is there. Okay. Getting to more meaningful dates, meaningful conversations, meaningful relationships with better quality women. That's where the skill is. Okay. A lay count doesn't matter. Okay. Having I'll consider a guy who's in a successful long-term relationship for 20 years more successful at the game than somebody who's been through 100 lays in the pickup world any day of the week. All right. Having your own happiness and having peak relationships and peak results in your life, that should be your measure, not something arbitrary, not a vanity metric like how many closes, how many lays, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you got questions, put them in the chat. Okay. You up? It could work. Roy Ray's text opener at 2 a.m. is you up. Share this one. This might be good. Sluggo says, I used to have that flawed logic that an SMV imbalance would motivate an ugly chick to behave better. Yeah, no, that's not true. It's only true at the beginning. Once they settle, they get comfortable and they act like anyone else. Yeah, that is correct. Right. So good. Some of you guys are getting back out there from the videos. Good stuff. So last week's video was foundational stuff. Okay. And so you're definitely going to want to review that if you haven't seen it yet. All right. When you have those foundations, I'm going to help you build the right behaviors. Okay. When you understand foundationally what's going on with your behavior and the other person's behavior and how that leads into mating results, you can say whatever you want now over text. All right. When you understand the structure, you can build meaningful communication. All right. And that's what's important here, because again, let's go just to review real quick. The goal is for you to convey sexual value and to increase her investment over text so that you guys go to the next step, which is meeting up or going on that second date or having her come over and you guys get laid, right? Whatever the next step is, you're conveying sexual value and increasing her investment so that she is wanting to do that next step and executing and doing it. All right. That's a better way to look at texting, other than texting is for logistics. Texting is to get dates. Okay, sure. Yeah, texting is to get the meetup, but what does that mean? Okay. And oh shoot, I didn't bring it. I'll have to bring it next time. All right. Next time I was gonna screenshot a couple of guys. One, it was a perfect example last in my community. I'll just sort of explain it. A guy did met a girl in person, did an opener, but he kept it to logistics, right? Had a brief conversation, and she was sort of wanting to have more of a conversation. She was a younger girl. She was like in her early 20s, like just out of college. He was in his like mid 30s, which is fine. Okay. So the pickup went well. They did the number close. She showed some investment and interest in the conversation. He went right directly to a close. She started to get a little cold feet, went, into agreeing to a date, and then sort of just ghosted and dropped off. And then that was the end of it. She never actually met up with the guy, never went any further. She went from interested from the meetup to gradually talking herself out of it and not meeting up. And the reason why was because this particular person did what most guys do, which is keeping the texting to logistics and thinking, well, it's just about the meetup. And he didn't capitalize on opportunities to develop investment from her and to convey sexual value, which would have continued her attraction that she initially had towards him and would have continued her comfort level as well as her, her buy-in to want to go out in her curiosity to want to meet up with him. And it wouldn't have been much. It only would have really been a few more exchanges than what they had. Very, very subtle. But had he had done that, they probably would have met up. Because it didn't, and he went straight to, because she was texting longer messages, conveying kind of expecting there to be more of a conversation, right? And he was good. He was calibrated. He wasn't coming across like a weirdo, but he just kind of didn't capitalize on those longer messages or ask any questions or have any more exchange there. Went straight to a meetup, and she really just kind of got cold feet at that point and ended up not doing that. I see this all the time. So anybody who coaches guys on this stuff as a part of their whatever they do, it's only a part of what I do. It's not my primary thing, but I see it, all the time. Every week, every month, I have guys bringing me these sorts of problems and these sorts of things who are in the dating market. And maybe one of many things I'm working on with them. And I'll see it in the beginning until I teach a guy how to develop a little bit more investment and how to convey a little bit more sexual value. So that's just an example. There's a lot of missed opportunities that can easily happen in the beginning of an exchange that you'll miss a lot of things and you won't have opportunities because of these mistakes. So this video series will hopefully help you with that. And if you have questions, a super chat or something is nice. I don't necessarily want your money. It's more for the algorithms. YouTube does not like me. They do not like what I talk about. They don't like my face. So they don't help me algorithmically. This information only gets out to guys and helps guys like yourself. If you guys like it, share it, comments, little super chats. The more activity you do, the more it helps me out. Subscribing to the channel helps too. Anyway, that's enough of that. All right. I know there's some questions there, so I'm going to pop back in and answer them in a minute. Let's go to my screen share here. Okay. So let's look at the structure of what you're trying to do. I've covered this in previous videos. These principles still hold true years and years later. Okay. So what is this? This is kind of a flow chart of getting you to the next step. It's designed for texting, but it really does apply even in person sort of game or pickup. Okay. So this is kind of where she starts from zero and gets to invested in going out with you. And then on the date, she's got some investment because she showed up. And then that investment increases to getting to the next step, whether that's physical touch, whether that's, making more of a connection into kissing, into the next location, into sleeping with you, or into a second date possibly, and then sleeping with you. However it ends up going. Okay, but this is your flow. And so your flow, you're always doing this. You're always building curiosity, investment, and some fantasy or imagination stuff, and closing to the next step. In this case, for texting, we're talking about getting the date. Okay. And so this is always the flow. Okay. Now from here, well, we'll go into all of it. I'm going to break this all down for you throughout the series, and I'm going to refer to this a few times. Okay. If you understand the structure, what you're doing, and you understand the purpose of what you're doing, the purpose of your communication, that guides you into the words you're choosing, the pacing, the timing, and the tonality of your texts. All right. Whether you're sexualizing or not, or any of these things, like if you're advancing the goal of getting the date, then you are doing the right things. If you're not advancing this goal, then you're not doing the right things. Okay. So the idea is you're starting from somewhere, you're building up into a close, an agreement, and getting a date. All right. Now, there's stuff built in here that may be different than what other people teach. The reason why is because some of what people teach is out of date. The flake rate, the attention rate is much, much higher, 2024, 25. People are inundated with too much information, too much digital noise. I'm struggling with that right now. I have I have 20,000 people on my YouTube channel, something like that, subscribed, right? I get sometimes, depending on the video, but I might get it, a video that isn't suppressed too hardcore by YouTube will get a couple thousand views, not necessarily viral, but just like an average video. And I struggle to get you guys who watch these things to sign up for my fucking community that's free. Right. And then it's free and it's going to help you. I struggle with that because you have so much digital noise that you're afraid to make that step. Yeah. Am I going to try to sell you something or be unscrupulous, or am I going to try to, is it one more thing that's going to be noise in your life? Whatever. There's an aversion to doing now clicks to make a move to do stuff, even though you guys know me, like me, trust me, and I'm helping you, right? So that'll just illustrate the digital noise. You run into it if you run a small business like myself and you have to market, stuff. But you also run into it with dating because women are just inundated with simps, with attention, with bullshit, and they're just digitally inundated, right? And so flake rates are so much higher. Women ghost so much easier nowadays. Women don't show up to dates so much easier nowadays. I mean, certainly today, even more than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's gotten much worse. And so you have to have built-in mechanisms to prevent that stuff. You have to have built-in persuasive types of communication and ways of following up or ways of communicating with her so that she doesn't waste your time, so she doesn't end up ghosting you. That's actually an important thing, and it doesn't matter how attractive you are necessarily. Obviously, the more attractive you are and the better your profile looks, the least likely you're going to get ghosted, the more interest you'll get from women. But that being said, it still happens to attractive guys all the time. And so you want to make sure that you build this stuff in. Okay, so your first thing is you're going to have your opener. That's what I'm going to go over today. All right. Now, what your opener is designed to do is designed to build curiosity. Okay. So you want to, she has 100 messages that are in her inbox that she hasn't looked at yet. Okay. Regardless of what the platform is. She needs to see your message in that little piece of what she can see before she opens the message, right? And be curious about what you are saying. Okay. You have like that little first, whatever it is, 5 to 10 sentences to spike curiosity to move to the next step. So first it's seeing part of the message, opening the message, and then from opening the message, reading the message, and then feeling compelled to reply. Okay. Once she opens the message and replies, that is the beginning of investment. When she is doing an action or something towards furthering this relationship, to include thinking about you or stalking your profile or any of those things, that is an investment. Okay. She's investing more of her time and her mental and emotional energy into this exchange you're having. You need to build this investment up to a point where she wants to meet up with you. Now, how do you do that though? If she doesn't know who you are, she's never met you before, right? You've never been able to offer a tangible reward. You're not the guy who's given her multiple orgasms yet. Okay. When you're the guy who's given her multiple orgasms, she opens you and calls you back, right? When she feels like she needs multiple orgasms, you're not that guy yet. You're nothing to her. You are a person on the other end of a DM on a dating app or social media platform or text message, right? So how do you build investment when you have nothing to demonstrate or offer her yet? Because you haven't had that meetup. You do that with fantasy and imagination. When she looks through your profile and sees that you're a decent looking guy doing cool shit, you have a vibrant life, right? And her mind sort of goes into this vibrant life that she imagines that you're having. And then she starts to imagine in her loneliness, right? Having this potential life with you, even if it's very subtle and very subconscious, it's in the imagination. If you end up dirty talking with a girl, which I'll get into that in another video, how to do that properly. But if you end up dirty talking, right, and getting her kind of sexual fantasy up, are you guys having sex right now? No, you're over text. So what's happening is her imagination is imagining a sexual encounter and enjoying this banter she's having with you. All right. Fantasy and imagination is the precursor to sex. Fantasy and imagination is where seduction happens. Seduction happens between the ears in her brain before it happens physically. A girl having a bunch of orgasms and a blowout, knockdown, drag out sexual experience has more to do with the fantasy and imagination and what's happening in her mind than it does what's happening physically. How many different ways can you stick a wiener in a vagina? Think about it. I mean, we could think about that all day and come up with all sorts of different ways because we're dudes and we're dirty bastards and that's what we like to do. But reality is, from a mechanics perspective, it isn't that deep or hard. Yeah, there's deep or hard. No pun intended, I guess. Um, but but it's like it's not that, it's not that complicated, right? Throwing your wiener in somebody is not a complicated task. Yes, there are erogenous zones. Yes, there's angles. Yes, I can get in all that. I do that with my seduction mastermind guys. Okay. We talk about how to increase the sexual experience, and there's physical aspects to it, obviously. All right. But the reality is, though, is that those physical things don't matter if there isn't a seductive thing happening in her brain. You could do all the right physical moves, and if her brain is disconnected from her body because she's just not into you and not into the experience, she's not going to have that great of a time. She's not even going to orgasm, probably. Right. So you have to develop seduction in the fantasy, in the imagination. You're starting that process with your texting. Okay. You're starting that process with how you are conveying sexual value to her, with the way that you text. And I'm not saying the words specifically, even, but just the pacing of it, the tonality, as well as things like your profile and what she can gather informationally about you before this meetup. All right. Everything you're doing is conveying this fantasy and building this investment. But in order to get there, you got to spark curiosity. She's got to wonder about you a little bit. Wonder what, or, just when she sees that opener, she feels compelled to respond. She's wondering what the conversation, in some way, shape, or form, even if she's not consciously aware, she's wondering what the response from you is going to be, what this conversation is going to be like, you see? And she might not even be thinking of it. This is human behavior again. This is what happens behind the curtain. There's a lot of things that drive your behavior that is behind what you're consciously aware of. And that includes the girl who is texting you. You want to stimulate the areas behind the curtain that she's not aware of. It's not just what she's aware of. What she's aware of is very, very simple. I read this, thought it was funny, texted back. Or read this, thought that was weird, texted back. Like, for her, it's not that deep. And for you, the execution of it is very simple. It's not that deep. But what's happening behind the curtain, that's why these videos take a long time. Okay. I'm helping you with the understanding of that. Now, when her investment in fantasy is enough where she has to be what I call emotionally bought into making the next step with you. All right. Now that could happen right away. She could be like, you could close a meetup in a couple of texts, keeping it to logistics only, for example. If she is DTF, down to meet up, okay, or do more right from the get-go, you don't have to waste a lot of time. I'm not suggesting you waste time for weeks and weeks texting women, okay, at all. But if she's ready to end up closing and meeting, cool. All right. That means her investments and her fantasy about you and all those things are high. That tends to happen, by the way, when you do cold approaches, which is why I love cold approaches and I like them better than, dating apps, even though dating apps are fine. Okay. And it's fine if you do them. But I think cold approaches it's such a good way of doing things, because if you have that short conversation and do a number close, you've already built a ton. If you've done it right, you've already made an impact building a ton of curiosity and investment and some fantasy from her. So then the text exchange doesn't have to be that long. It can be really short. She's already highly bought in from the initial text, right? And so that's the best way, in my opinion. But if it's a cold, you're on a dating app and matching on a dating app, and she's probably talked to 10 other guys that week, sifting through 100 messages or so. I'd say 100, but a lot of times a lot more than that. You're going to have to make more of an impact. You can't just stick to logistics. You're not going to get opportunities. You have to make more of an impact building a little bit of curiosity, investment, fantasy. And so once you can tell when the buying temperature goes up, and I'll give you those signs in future videos. But as the buying temperature goes up, closing is a super easy process. Closing is the easiest part of this whole thing. Okay. The way that I'm telling you to do it, you are not going to struggle with closing a girl. A lot of you guys have struggle and problems with closing. It's because you're not building enough investment, fantasy, and curiosity. So it doesn't seem like it's like it should be obvious that the next step is, well, it sounds like we should meet up then. Or, hey, it sounds like we should grab a drink soon. Or, hey, why don't we do something next week or whatever. And then you get into the close, the logistics, and the date, right? It should seamlessly go there. For a lot of you guys, you're like talking about her cat or her dog or whatever, and then you don't know how to take it into a warmer buying temperature where she's more invested and has a little bit more, fantasy about meeting with you, see, having in her imagination, optimism, right? From having a meetup with you where you would seamlessly go into that close. A lot of you guys are having a conversation about, memes or cats or nothing. And then you're just like, well, we should meet up next week. And it comes out of nowhere. And then she's not invested enough and she's not in her imagination enough to think that this is going to be a good idea. And what happens is then all of her protective defensive natural mechanisms kick in. Well, what if this guy's a creep? I don't know. We're not really hitting it off that well, or he just, I'm not sure about meeting up with him. That kind of stuff, right? All of the defensive things start kicking in. She starts asking questions like, I don't know, how far do you live? How old are you? Are you, are you just here to hook up or are you looking for something different? She starts asking you a bunch of questions because she's reluctant now to meet up with you because you haven't built up enough investment and fantasy. All right. So the close will be seamless. Now, because of the flake rate, I'm going to give you a different timeline when we get to that video that's going to tell you some different things about how to do the logistics between the close and the date differently. All right. Because this is not 1998 or some shit where you talk to a girl on a landline and you set a date up for next week and there's no communication between now and the date, that's 8 days away. All right. That's not going to work anymore. There was a time when people had better attention span where and communication had to be closer. And because there wasn't so much digital noise, that communication was just more meaningful. And so when you would set a date with some girl, and it wasn't commonplace. There's so many factors here. It wasn't commonplace just to ghost people. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't like the norm, okay, like it is today. A girl actually felt nervous to give out a phone number because she didn't want to, ghost a guy. The girl would feel nervous about ghosting guys. I don't want to look like a bitch. I don't want to look like a bad person. That used to be a thing, believe it or not. Some of you guys don't even know what that's like, right? Because you've grown up and you've dated in a time where women just freely and actively ghost men and it's fine. And guys do it to girls too. And it's like everybody does it now. There's a time when that wasn't normal. Yeah, during that time, you didn't need to do this confirmation. You didn't need to set a tentative and then definite, okay, which are things that I'm going to get somebody to disagree with me in the chat on these when I get to them. And I don't care because you don't know and I do. All right. Just listen to me. You'll do better. All right. It's to decrease that flake rate, regardless of how attractive you are. It doesn't fucking matter. You're going to need to do this close, confirm, date portion a little bit differently than what some advice that was ripped off from a guy that got ripped off from another guy that got ripped off from another guy that originated in 1982 as dating advice. Okay. You're going to have to do things a little differently for 2024, 25 if you expect girls to actually show up, have a good time, and end up in the bedroom with you, right? There's also aspects of reopening, handling double texting, when to do that, when not to do that. It's usually not, by the way, but there are times when you'll do it. And in doing something called a takeaway, okay? Because again, women and people have attention spans of goldfish. This is why half of you can't even pay attention to this fucking video I'm doing right now. All right. It's a challenge people have nowadays. And so this girl is that you're texting is going to have an even bigger challenge of having her attention captured by you. So there are times you're going to have to reopen. There are times when you have to do a takeaway. It may take you several attempts at closing before you get her on a date. This is the reality of it. Okay. But some of you guys have inner game issues and you can't handle one blow off. And so you're like, fuck, she didn't like me, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? You talk yourself out of doing some of the right things to get a girl to be in a date or situation with you. All right. Let's stop sharing for a minute and we can look at some of these questions and all that. All right. But anyway, so that's, and some of you, and then I'll get into openers, but some of you guys like, I know I'm going to get pushback. Like, well, if she's not, hell yes, then why waste your time? All this bullshit. Dude, your time, everybody's time is valuable, but your time ain't that fucking valuable, right? You're not a billionaire, so shut the fuck up. You can text her a second or third time and get laid and have maybe a long-term relationship that works awesome. Okay. But like, you guys are in your own head, some of you. It's all ego defense mechanisms because you're afraid that about some girl rejecting you, or you're offended, or your butt hurt when a girl blows you off. Look, they don't, if you're on a dating app or if you're texting, she doesn't know you, dude. Like, she doesn't know you. There's no reason for her to be invested in you. You got to build some of that stuff up. And sometimes you might have to be persistent. I'm not saying simp for a girl or do idiot things, to devalue yourself. But I'm saying you may have to shoot your shot more than once, right? And anybody who's in the game knows this, dude. I'm not saying anything that's different for anybody who's actively texting women right now and getting results. Any coaches out there who are helping guys with this stuff, they know I'm right, okay? But a lot of people who aren't doing it will ego protect and be like, she's got to be a hell yes girl, or it's nothing, this and that and the other. Look, she does have to be hell yes in terms of her desire, but not on the first couple texts. What the fuck? That's dumb. She doesn't know you. And you shouldn't be that invested in her either, to be honest. What has to happen is it develops. If you're getting into an LTR, yeah, she should have maximum desire for you. She should be hell yes, completely in your frame. Absolutely. But dude, there are steps to get there. When guys say stuff like that, I know they don't fuck. When guys say like, oh, she needs to be hell yes or hell no, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't care if it's a guy with $10 million on his pocket on YouTube trying to give you advice with 1 million subscribers, or whether it's a fucking nobody. I know they don't do shit. They don't do crap with women at all. They don't have experience. I know that. When they say stuff like that, I already know. Okay. I'm nice to some of those people. Some of those people I've been friends with. I'm not going to call them out necessarily, but I know you don't know anything. I know that your knowledge is this much compared to what you would need to know to actually help guys in this area. All right. Because the reality is, doesn't matter your level of value. Because think about it. If you're a highest value man, that just means you're going after the highest value women that are out there, which means that there's still going to be some skills involved, right? And there's still going to be complications, right? If you have $20 million in your pocket and you check all the blocks and you're a hot dude, yeah, you can get lots of girls, no problem, at the snap of a finger, but that's not who you're after now, is it? You're after this model or this person or that person. You're after somebody who is higher value too and has access to guys that level, right? It's a call. We tend to break off into class systems as human beings. You're after somebody in the same category or class of women that you're in, and therefore you're going to have the same problems because women are women. And anybody who is not dating women, and dispensing advice, say dumb things. All right. Because that aren't true. So anyways, point is, you got to build up that investment. Don't listen to anybody that says otherwise. Let me look at some of these. I like this one. Thumbnails are effortlessly hilarious. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do humorous thumbnails. I think they're funny. I don't know if everybody gets it, but whatever. All right. Let's look at, I'm sorry, I'm looking at anybody with questions right now. So I know I saw one earlier. Bum. Yeah, if you have questions, throw them in here. Like I said, a super helps. What is this? Would you suggest deleting Tinder profiles and remaking them after a couple of months? And how long do you leave it deleted before making a new profile? Yeah, that's a good question. And that's one area where I am good at I'm good at optimizing your game in terms of human behavior, but my clients tend to tell me what's the trend for the dating apps they're on. So here's the thing about dating apps, right? Like there are algorithms for each dating app, there are ways of handling it, and there are like each app has different quirks to it and different ways that you're going to want to sort of handle it. And also, different apps will be more popular in your area. Now, because I coach people all over the United States and all over the world, I couldn't tell somebody, like, for example, I don't know, for example, if Tinder is the best app in your area or if you need to be on Hinge or another thing. You know what I mean? And so, depending on your demographics, the demographic of the girl you're going for, in the town, city, location that you're in, that's going to depend on which dating apps to use at all. And then from there, okay, what's more appropriate? You know, they change these algorithms all the time because they don't want a guy like yourself to be able to game the algorithm. They don't want you to be able to just delete a profile, start a new one to reset their algorithms. You see what I mean? And so you're fighting against that. They don't share what they're doing, and you're trying to figure out what's trending. Now, what's currently trending in Tinder, my basic advice has been not to keep a profile open for more than 6 months. You know what I mean? I think a safe bet is really to do less than that, maybe every 3 months maximum. Okay, would be when you would start a new profile. And I would just, you want to look at what guys tend to do who are doing well. They just look at their matches and successes as a gauge, right? So like when you start off with a new profile, usually, especially, well, a couple of things. First of all, if you're a guy, you got to pay for premium. All right. I just don't, I don't, you're really hindering yourself not paying for the premium service of whatever dating app, that thing that's out there. Whatever's the premium thing, as a guy, you know, they want your money. Okay. So being on there on a lower tier is going to mean you have less matches and less opportunities. If you're going to spend, my time is more valuable than that. In other words, if I'm going on a dating app, and when I've done dating apps, right, I'm always paying for the premium tier because I don't want to waste my time with low value matches, right? I want to have the most amount of opportunities as possible for the time that I'm on the app, which means I'm gonna have to pay for it, right? So I'm gonna just drop that suggestion to keep better than changing your profile is just, if you're not doing it yet, make sure you're premium wherever you're at. Okay, whatever your app of choice is, you don't have to do it with every single one, but whatever your app of choice is that you're sourcing the women from, be it a premium service. Don't waste your time. Okay, your time should be more valuable than that whatever fee, you know, whatever it ends up being a month, right? And it's not going to break the bank too much, especially if you're only doing it for like a short period of time, right? Before you change it up, but whatever. So pay for premium, and then I would say change it every 3 months. Okay. That's a ballpark. Somebody might have a better answer than I do on that. All right. Because again, I'm not a internet expert. I'm not expert with the algorithms. I'm just helping guys with the behavioral aspect more than anything else. But what I understand is, you know, definitely don't let it go past 6 months. Better rule of thumb would be, you know, to take your profile down and delete it every, you know, 2 to 3 months, and then just kind of like, you know, let it chill, and then you open up another one. Now, if that is wrong, if there's some benefit to keeping up a profile, somebody tell me, throw it in the chat, throw it in a comment. If you have, you better have evidence though. Don't just, I'm not taking anybody's word for it. All right. So if you're seeing something different, let me know. But what I've gotten from information from guys that are out there is that They get a bunch of matches, bunch of dates. And when they start to see their matches drop off, like things are not as good, you know what I mean? Then that's time to just delete and reset a profile. But if you're paying for premium, that you might be getting tons of matches for month after month after month, and you could last like 6 months. So let your results, I guess is my point, is let your results be your metric for what you're doing. If you're not getting results where you were before, it's time to change something. All right. If you're paying for premium service, you're on 4 months and you're still getting tons of matches, it's not broke. Why fix it? You know what I mean? But if all of a sudden you notice you're starting to drop off, now it's time to reevaluate and maybe change, take your profile down, open up something else, right? And change some things around. Okay. So looking for questions. Hit like. Thank you, Jack. He is hanging out and moderating for me today. Jack's the man. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out Jack Napier's channel as well. Let's look at this one. Yeah, heard from Nuclear. Yeah, Nuke is probably giving good advice here that you want to delete it and have nothing for 90 days to let it totally reset. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that might be accurate. I don't know about, it seems like a long time to keep it deleted for 90 days. But that might be accurate. I don't know what the proof is on that. That would certainly ensure things. And if that's the case, then you just alternate premium services. Maybe you have Tinder and one, premium service for Tinder, and then you delete it, when it starts to dry out. And now you're on Hinge and a premium service on Hinge for the next 90 days, and you let Tinder sort of fizzle out. That could be a strategy too. All right. So playing with the algorithms is not my expertise as much in it, nor, and a lot of dating coaches not even sure about that either. Right. So I get a lot of different answers on that. My best advice to you is, if you're getting results, stay the course. If you're not getting results, or if you notice the results dropping off, it's time to change something. Okay. So that's, I think, a pretty good way of looking at it. All right. So now let's get into openers. I want to say for this too, like, there's all different kinds of ways to do the things I'm going to teach you guys in this series. But what I'm going to teach you is the most basic, sort of easy way to do it that's going to give you the highest results. So you don't have to overthink it. You know what I mean? It's just, here's what it is. All right. Is there, so I'm going to go over openers. Are there some clever openers or some different ways of doing stuff that this is really cool or this is really unique? Yeah, sure. Okay. There are, and those will happen every so often. Oh, this is a cool opener. And then that opener gets used a bunch and nobody cares about it anymore. All right. So trends are fine, but this is not going to, what I'm going to give you is something beyond trends. All right. So I'm going to give you the tools to develop your own material for whatever stage you are in the text game. Okay. So openers, here's the best way to develop your openers. All right. It's not, here's the 2 best openers for 2024. That's stupid. That's going to, you know what? The reason that's stupid, because even if those work at all, it's going to, if that were true, it's going to change in a few months. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't do you any good. What does you good is to know how to develop these things on your own. All right. So we're going to I'll show you how to develop some openers that will always be fresh, always be new, always be unique, and always get the results you want from it. Okay. Let's see. All right. So we got that. And so now let's see, what's the next one? Okay. So openers. So this one is, we got 2 different ways of doing an opener. All right. That I'm going to give you that are the easiest ways to do it. You don't have to overthink this. Okay. Oh, that was the thing I was going to say, is openers are not that important. I know that sounds crazy. So give me a second. Let me explain. In person openers are of very little importance. We used to do a game like when I was, you know, younger, like single and doing more cold approaches, right? We'd do a game which would be to do the stupidest openers we could think of and then get girls to talk to us. All right. And it worked every time because the tonality and the way that you would approach and how you're acting would convey attraction and sexual value and build curiosity. And you could say literally the stupidest thing to a girl and she would still laugh and still have a conversation with you. Now that's in person pickup, right? How you open is like almost a non-issue because what is important is actually the conversation you have after the opener. The best opener in the world will do nothing for you if the follow-up conversation isn't good, right? And so in the worst opener in the world, as long as she's able to begin a conversation with you, you can now take that conversation into a higher level of investment, curiosity, and fantasy in having her want to meet up with you. So that's why people put too much emphasis on openers because that's where everybody's anxiety is. They're afraid, especially in person, with in-person pickup, they're afraid to do that cold approach and open. But openers are actually not that important. What's important is the conversation. That's in person. Now, I will say though, over text, if that's the first interaction you have with her, yeah, your opener just became more important now. Okay. So I could come up to a girl, cold approach, and literally say any stupid thing. As long as I follow up with a good conversation, my opener doesn't fucking matter. She doesn't even remember. And in fact, I used to have this problem where I'd get these results and pick up and I'd try to give a field report and I couldn't remember how I opened because that's how unimportant it was. Right now, transferring that to texting, however, you have to break through hundreds of texts from different guys. You have to spark her curiosity enough to want to open the message and want to interact with you. So the opener is more important when it comes to dating apps than texting, like for sure, but still isn't as important as the actual conversation. The only goal, really, the main goal of the opener is just curiosity. And that's really it. If you spark curiosity, you can start the conversation and now you can do the most important piece, which is building that investment with conversation. Okay. So no matter that's your benchmark of whether or not an opener is successful or not. Does it make somebody curious and make them want to respond? That's the only thing. You don't have to look attractive yet. You don't have to look, there's nothing cool or magical about it. Just curious. She has to be curious enough to want to engage with you in a conversation. That's it. Okay. So that's what your opener needs to do and what you need to accomplish. The easiest way to do that is observational openers. Okay. This is where you look at a photo, you find something interesting that you can comment on, or something you can ask a question about in a way that is unique. The reason why you're asking in a way that is unique or somewhat interesting or different is because that is what sparks the curiosity. A lot of guys look for something in a bio or written up in the profile to comment on. I'm not saying never do that, but shy against or away from that. Everybody does that. Okay. They look for something like, oh, you're a good cook, I'm a good cook too, or whatever, because she said it in her bio or something, right? Or they try to say something witty about something she wrote about in the bio. I'm not saying never do that because sometimes it can be okay, but that's what most guys are doing. All right. Most guys aren't picking out something unique about a photo that she has in her profile and then commenting on that. All right. So that's a little bit different. Plus, you want to convey sexual value. A guy who's combing a girl's profile looking for something to talk about and reach out over is conveying a high level of interest without having her have earned it yet. That's conveying lower value. Hey, I'm swiping on this app and I happen to see a picture of this chick and I comment on it. And it's a low looks like a low effort, just off the cuff, just low effort comment. Like, I just noticed this, I'm saying it, right? No filter, just saying whatever you're thinking as you're swiping. That demonstrates lower investment and higher value. You see what I'm saying? So again, you're conveying sexual value with behavior. There's an example of it. If you're combing through what she wrote down, looking for something to say or comment on, that's not conveying higher sexual value. So you just want to look for something in a picture to just comment on. Now, here's the thing. As you should remember from last week's video, people are idiots now. Guys don't know how to talk to women. The vast majority of her messages are gross or stupid or unattractive. Seriously. Most guys are sending just unattractive messages looking for attention. And so just being normal for 2024-25, your game will elevate so much more than so many guys just by coming across as a normal dude, just a normal guy who knows how to have a conversation with somebody and not be a douchebag. All right. That's that old saying, be attractive, don't be unattractive. Just don't be unattractive. If you can just not be unattractive in your texting, you already are standing out. Okay. You don't have to do anything special anymore to stand out because so many guys are bad at this. All right. So you just need to be normal. You don't even need to be that clever. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't learn some skills and improve your game, but that should be the starting point. Is just come across as a halfway decent, normal person. You're going to get so much further. Trust me. I used the example of my girlfriend last video. All of them, it is rare she gets a message from a guy that is just a normal message. It's like guys are just puking up the dumbest things in her DMs constantly. It's like, I'm happy she has social media at this point because everyone's game is so terrible that it just increases my value for every idiot that comments or tries to reach out to her. That's how bad it is today, right? And if you guys who know a girl on that level, on some platonic level, where she'd let you see the shit, ask them. Ask some girl that you should be, know girls that you're not necessarily screwing, right? Ask them, what kind of messages do you get? What kind of crazy shit? Any girl that's out there in any sort of way or that's halfway attractive, she'll show you. And it's incredible the amount of simping that happens nowadays. So anyways, I've said my piece on that. Just don't be a weirdo. That's the easiest thing you can do here to increase your value. All right. So example, maybe you're commenting on a dog pic, cute golden retriever mix, ? Right? Or she's got a hat, nice fedora, very bold, LOL. Okay. So like something like that. Now you don't want to neg in it either. This is another thing. You don't want to neg and you don't want to simp. All right. So you're not going to start off with compliments. Don't say she's cute. Don't say she's beautiful. Don't do any of that stuff. All right. From the start of the conversation, because she gets that all day long. That doesn't bring her curiosity up. Commenting on her appearance when there isn't a conversation to back it up. Right. So your opener is, oh, hey, beautiful, or you look cute, or this, and that, and the other. She gets nothing but that. You're not sparking curiosity with anything like that. So stay away from that. But also stay away from the negs too. So many guys understand, okay, I can't, there's a lot of simps out there. So they think I'm going to differentiate myself and neg this girl. Dude, everybody knows about negs now. Okay, everybody. It's not rocket science. Like, people understand. She knows what you're trying to do. Okay, this is not no longer, the mystery pickup days from 2001 or 2 or 3 or whatever, right? This is 2024. Women know about dudes trying to neg girls, right? And they know it. All of them do. And they know that, oh, this guy is just trying to cut me down or insult me in a way to try to, get a response from me. Okay. And guys will try that all the time. The next most common thing besides weirdo messages or constant simping and constant compliments is the attempt at negging. Don't attempt to neg. Most of you guys aren't good at it and you're going to just suck at it. Okay. Get in my community and ask about negging some more, and I'll teach you how to do it the right way, in a way that's productive. But most of you guys don't know how. Okay. So you're just going to fuck it up. And why do that to yourself? A better thing to do, though, is when commenting on a photo or appearance, is choose a small detail and exploit that. So instead of being like, if you're going to, especially if it's a compliment, right, of some sort, you know, so instead of being like, oh, wow, you look so beautiful in the dress or whatever, or wow, that dress has such vibrant, well, I'm actually saying something that would be good, but, you know, oh, you look beautiful in that dress, right? You might say, you know, wow, that dress is wild. You know what I mean? Something like that. Comments on, or like in this case, nice fedora, very bold with like a laughing emoji or something, right? She doesn't know if you're complimenting or if you're negging her. And that's the way to do it. You're not trying to intentionally neg her. You're just picking out a small detail. You know, nice nerd glasses, right? That could be something. Or cute nerd glasses. You can say something that's complimentary while singling out a detail, because that gets her to wonder about, this is again, because the goal is curiosity, right? If you said something like cute nerd glasses, LOL, right? Well, are they cute, or do I look like a nerd? Am I attractive? Am I not attractive? Right? It brings up curiosity, and that's going to be more likely to spark a conversation. You see, and so that's how you do that. All right. Let's go into curiosity openers. So there's environmental openers where you notice something about the environment, or you notice something about the picture, and you just comment on that or ask a question about it. All right. Super simple. And those don't have to be complicated. All right. And I threw some photos in this presentation. I haven't come up with anything yet for them. We can come up with them together. Okay. For this, but we'll do some openers there. And it's super easy. All right. So that's the easiest way. But another way is if you're kind of stumped or stuck, you do what's called a curiosity opener, which is exactly as the name implies. They're openers designed to be confusing and inspire curiosity. Now, remember, confusing is not insulting, and confusing is not simping. All right. You're not going to overly neg or overly simp. Remember that. You're just going to be normal. All right. So, example, you could say, all right, now I'm curious. And that would be all you'd say. Well, what curious about what, right? This inspires something like, all right, now I'm curious, inspires a response more than, you know, oh, hey, you know, what's going on in this photo, or cute photo, or cute like background, or you look cool, or whatever, like, you know, some of those types of things, right? All right, I'm curious, you know, now I'm curious. Now, the key to these curiosity openers, though, is you have to have, as with any opener, you have to have follow-up conversation. So when she says curious about what, or how, maybe she says, well, so am I, or what are you curious about? You should have something to say about that. You know what I mean? You shouldn't, and it could be something as simple as, you know, why, I don't know, why does, I'm wondering why such a cute girl does, you know, does this, whatever she's doing, or I'm wondering, it could be anything. Okay. Whatever it is, but you have to have some way of responding to that. And we'll get into responses next video, right? Because I'm going to tell you how to build the conversation. Something like, I either saw you the other day or you have a twin. All right. So then it's like, well, did you see me the other day? Maybe this guy lives in my area. Maybe he recognized me. Where did he see me at? Okay. A little stalkerish, but not too crazy. Okay. Or you have a twin. So you're giving off the impression that, well, maybe it wasn't her. This gives you the out. If you never even saw her, you know what I mean? And you're just saying that to inspire curiosity. You could say where you think you saw her. She's going to tell you you're wrong. And then that's okay, because now you've opened up and started the conversation. You see, the goal is to start the conversation to build investment, more curiosity, investment, and get her into her imagination or fantasy, so she wants to go hang out with you. Correct? So how that happens, there's a lot of different ways of getting there. You know, something like, I either saw you the other day or you have a twin. It doesn't matter if you never saw her. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. You see, it starts the conversation, and it's very likely she may be very curious to start that. Something like this is kind of complimentary, but it's not like a simping compliment. Something like selfies on point. So you're pointing out that she's taking selfies, right? Which is already, is that good or bad, right? Curious. We don't know. Selfies on point. Do you know what is missing though? You know, and you could say something stupid like, well, in the beach picture, I don't know, what's missing is me, what's missing is a professional photographer, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. It starts the conversation. And again, these are, if you can't think of anything looking at her profile, you're just not sure. Don't get in the habit of just mass sending stuff out though. Okay. And I'll get into reason why. Just funny ass openers. Um, in the, what did I use for, almost got to look it up now. What did I use for the thumbnail? I don't even remember. It was the guy was like, roses are red, violets are blue. I have a gun. Get in the van. It's funny, right? Now, of course, you could just be sending that to hundreds of girls, which makes it less likely for, anything that looks like it could be an opener that you send to everybody. I kind of think that gives you maybe a less response. I don't know. It just seems that you're not pulling, you're not making it a specific curious conversation with you and that other person. So I'm kind of of the opinion that an opener that could be used as that appears that it could be used as a mass opener is probably not the best way. But if it's funny, you know what I mean? It can spark that curiosity. Okay. And these again are just like, so in another example, like, so we'll give some examples here on a photo. Let's say she has a wild outfit or like a costume or something like that, like music festival or maybe Halloween costume, something from profile. You could say something like, I see you got your outfit picked out for our hot date already. Okay. Which would be funny, right? If she was wearing like a bikini, if she was wearing like, a like some sexy nurse Halloween costume or something, right? You could say something like that, or a workout clothes, like, so these are just kind of humorous openers that are unique and inspire curiosity. All right. So now let's do this together. All right. So I just picked out some photos from the internet. You guys can put what openers you might want to try in the chat. I thought that would be fun. I'm doing it with you. I really don't have anything planned other than finding the photos before I found them before I decided to do this stream today. And as you guys know, I didn't have much of an announcement for it. So whatever, we'll just do this together. They don't have to be perfect. There's no magic here. All I have to do is inspire curiosity, right? And they're just observational. So let's say a girl has a series in this vignette, because I just found these on Google. Okay. But let's say a girl has a bunch of photos, in her profile. She has, 6 photos in her profile. One of them's like this. We'll proceed with each photo like that. Like, this is a photo in her profile that you can sort of comment on. All right. And so with that, what could we say? Like, we have some, because girls will put goofy photos sometimes. She has something like this in there. I could say something like, already disapproving of my sarcastic sense of humor, ? All right. So that's what comes to mind right off the bat. I could say, who hurt you? And can I be next? ? Right. So that might be a little bit humorous. Or, if don't give me that look or whatever, then a wink, could be something too, to convey a little dominance. Right. And so these are just some examples. You guys can put things, you guys might think of something better than I'm thinking of right off the bat. It doesn't really matter. Again, the opener is not the most important thing. The conversation is, but the opener just has to spark that curiosity. And the thing about commenting on environmental openers is that they're always fresh, they're always new, and they're always personal. The only key to them is that you don't want to look like you've over invested to make that comment. Like, you thought about this opener for 10 minutes. It should be something that just sort of think about in the first 10, 20, 10 seconds looking at a photo. All right. And with that, it'll come across that way if you just send out what comes to mind in the first 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Let's go to another one. So let's say she has a cute picture of her playing tennis or something. Maybe I might put like tennis and ? Do you legit play, or are you just trying to look cute? All right. Something like that. Could go with something like, all right, pink shoes, I'm going to take you to school, and then put maybe like a GIF or something of somebody playing tennis or whatever, right? Could keep it simple. Maybe I'm just going to be like, how long have you been playing? Question mark. So these are, again, sometimes simple and normal, like how long have you been playing? Most guys are not sending normal text anymore. Most guys are going to say, oh, you look cute, nice legs, cute pink shoes, or a neg. Oh, pink shoes look stupid, whatever. Like they're going to be putting, simping comments, negging comments, bullshit comments, nothing to inspire curiosity. So sometimes just saying something simple like, how long have you been playing, is a simple opener that can get a lot more responses than you might think. All right. Could say something like, so if you're trying to inspire more storytelling, maybe like, do you want my most embarrassing tennis story? Should do you want my most, I would say maybe, do you want my most embarrassing tennis story, or do you want to share yours first? There, that's how I type it out. Okay. So something like that. All right. Say you see this photo or whatever, maybe I would, I'm hiding this from, this photo is called I'm hiding from my ex in parentheses and then a laugh face. Okay. That could inspire some curiosity or whatever. You know what I mean? Could say something like, if you aren't a natural blonde, then what else might you be lying to me about? All right. Cause in the photo, she's got like if you look, it looks like her roots are darker, so something to observe there. Right. Now, what most guys are probably going to say is, beautiful eyes or something about her eyes, because her eyes are pretty in this photo, but like that doesn't inspire curiosity. You know what I'm saying? So unless your profile makes you look like top G 1% man or something, and she's just super curious about you, you have pretty eyes is probably not going to go over well. And I would argue, even if you are top 1% man profile guy, that opener will work against you. All right. You want to do things to inspire curiosity, not do things that everybody else is doing, or that's overly simp, or that are overly negging. Right. So maybe I would say, you could say something like, cold question mark. You would steal my favorite hoodie, I can tell. All right. So sweaters and things like that, you would steal my favorite hoodie, I can tell. Well, that's a good one, right? Because why would a girl steal your hoodie? She would steal your hoodie if she had a night, slept with you probably, right? So she stayed overnight, she steals your hoodie. So you're right, you're sexualizing something without making it too overtly sexual, right? You could do something like that when you see somebody wearing like a thick sweater or a hoodie, or it's something like this, your opening statement would be cold question mark, right? Because it's like she's wearing the sweater, and then you would steal my favorite hoodie, I can tell, with like maybe a wink or something emoji. All right. So let's look at this one. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with this one. I'd probably just swipe next on this one with a filtered face, but whatever. How would you open? That's the game, right? Maybe I say, you look all business here. What is it you do? Question mark. Opening into conversation, right? Could say, because the winner in the background looks cold. Where at? Question mark. Something simple, right? Want to be a little clever. Maybe I'm going to be like, this one, I don't know why this one's hard for me. I could say something about the jacket. I don't know. See, I don't want to get into too complimentary. Maybe okay, how about this? Hired. She looks like she's, I don't know, let's just wear like a business jacket or something. It looks like that's probably, I don't know what kind of jacket that is. Maybe I'm just like hired, exclamation point. And then I could actually go with like hired, LOL, well, maybe, what are your qualifications? Question mark. Yeah, it would be better. So hired, well, maybe, what are your qualifications? All right. So maybe I send that opener, whatever. Right. You guys are getting the picture, right? Getting the idea. I wanted to at least throw one. Pets are so easy to open, dude. Like any girl has a pet or a dog or something in a profile. Super, super easy. Although guys know that, guys like to comment on pets all the time. They know that. So I don't know. What do I want to do here? Maybe I say she's got a white claw in the picture. So maybe I'm like, I think the dog had one too many white claws. Like, what the fuck's going on with this dog? Getting a better look at it now. Yeah, the dog looks high, dude. Which actually, I could say that. Not sure about you, but the dog is definitely 420 friendly. That dog looks high or drunk or something, right? Or I think the dog had one too many White Claws. I don't know. That'd be funny. And that would inspire some curiosity. Or keep it simple, right? Cute. What's his name? Right. And then I put parenthesis, the dog, not the guy who took the pic. So it's not a selfie. So somebody's taking that pic, probably a dude, right? So maybe you say cute, what's his name? And then parenthesis, the dog, not the guy who took the pic. Okay. So anyway, yeah, so like, and you guys are practicing in here. I'm not going to critique your stuff. I just found Waldo. That's funny. So, but see, some of these though, your smirk is endearing. Stay away from it. I would stay away from that. I said I wouldn't critique, but I just did. But I know I know the plumber. He's a cool dude. I know you appreciate my input. You're not gonna get upset at me, but polka dots interesting would be better than your smirk is endearing. Be very, very careful about the compliments, just because so many guys are delivering compliments. You know what I mean? And so yeah, that's an easy that gives you an idea of how to do openers. Super easy, dude. You don't have to complicate it. Just look at a photo, make a quick a quick thing. If you met the girl once already, you can just do a easy opener referencing the conversation. Maybe it's, let's say you met her on a Friday night, you open her on a Sunday night or a Monday or something, right? Because after exchanging some sort of contact, let's say exchange phone numbers or whatever. You could just be like, keeping it simple. How the rest of your Friday go? Or what'd you do Saturday? Or something simple, right? When in doubt, just be normal. Okay. You don't have to complicate it. You don't have to try to do extra. All right. When in doubt, just be a normal, socially calibrated person. In this day and age, 2024, going into 2025, women are starving to have a guy talk to them like a normal human being, especially over the internet, especially over text. You are going to rise to the top of all of these other options that you think she has. Like, you're thinking she's got hundreds of guys, all women who are cute, have all these guys, they have too much attention, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sure. But the attention they're getting mostly sucks. Ask any girl, they'll tell you. Most of the attention they get is trash. And so all you have to do is just be normal. When in doubt, just be a normal, socially calibrated type of a person. Okay. And chances are of getting responses and having good interaction just went up a lot. All right. But these are some ways to help you structure, think about what you're doing with your text game, how to open. Super easy. You guys are awesome. You know what I mean? You guys are champions for having done that. And that's it. I'm going to end the stream. I got errands to run. I'll catch you guys next time.